starting the session and I'm recording for other people. Thanks so much, Julia. All right, here we are today. My name is Robin Fritz, and welcome and thank you for attending my webinar today. Adam, welcome. And I have a little slideshow for you here, but it's really to give you cool pictures to look at so you don't have to look at me necessarily. But welcome to my webinar on soul progression clearing, what it does and how it works. It's an intuitive and spiritual healing modality I created, and we're going to talk about what it is, why you would consider it, and how you can experience healing and growth. So thank you everyone for joining me today. So we're going to move on here, and there we are. I am a business person who's turned into a spiritual and intuitive consultant, and also a licensed hypnotherapist. And I like to tell people I'm a tested and certified intuitive and spiritual consultant and past life regression specialist. And my practice is based in Seattle, Washington, so clear across the continent, again, for those of you who are joining us from Great Britain. My intuitive services include personal and business intuitive consultations, animal communication, mediumship, and space clearing. And on the spiritual side, I offer past life regression, between life regression, spiritual awakening, spiritual journeys and soul retrievals, soul progression clearing, and energy healing with my crystal, Fallon, that you see me holding there, and Reiki, and a new form of energy, which I'll talk about in another video or later at the end if you'd like to hear about it. But the reason I set up my practice is that I know that we are all intuitives and healers. And the issue is we just need to tap into that skill without a lot of baggage around it. And the other reason is once I started working with people, and especially with my father, who's deceased and has asked me to help him work with a category of the dead I call the stuck dead. I learned that we don't love ourselves enough, either alive or after we've died. And it certainly applied to me. And once I realized that and started working on my own development, I realized that most of us had the same problem. We don't love ourselves enough. And by learning to do that, we can claim our power, and then we can really contribute to the world in the way we intended to when we took our bodies. And so it's all about helping you empower yourself. Yes, a big issue for you. It's a big issue for all of us. I was astonished to learn that I wasn't the only one who had that issue. And I talk about it in a book I'm writing about what really happens when we die. So let me tell you, and feel free, all of you, to chime in here with comments on the chat line, or type in your comments here, and or questions if I don't.
They're discussing the oil, how nasty the bay is in Eureka. Yeah.
Oh, Chris, hi. Yeah, I'm asking people to mute their microphones so they're typing in. Liani, hi, I figured that was you. Thank you for joining. Gemma, I hope I'm pronouncing your right name. Gemma or Gemma, I have a problem with pronouncing names correctly. I don't mean to be insulting. So it's a big issue. Yes. Deep-rooted healing you're not aware of, it holds you back. Yes, it does. And it holds us back for lifetimes. And I'll talk about that as I get into it. So please, if you have questions or comments, type away. And also, at the very top of this thread, if you go back to it at the end, I put links for how you can contact me, and they're also at the end of the webinar. So here's soul progression clearing. Soul progression clearing is an intuitive and spiritual healing process that helps people clear issues and restore balance. So obviously you can see that on the screen, but the idea is that the issues that we're clearing are deep-seated issues. Sometimes they start early in our life and we don't really remember them until we start the clearing process. We just know something is blocking us. And of course, we take bodies, so we have our ups and downs, but we don't always remember what happens. But our soul remembers. And our soul also remembers previous lifetimes where we have things that have blocked us, issues, fears, phobias, things that we've done in previous lifetimes that we feel guilty for. And I'm certainly the first person to admit that, because I've experienced looking at my past lives. And in fact, this may be a good place to say, I don't offer any service that I haven't personally experienced a need for. And so I understand how that works for everyone else too. And yes, self-doubt is part of it. So these are really deep-seated issues that we want to clear out, but we can also clear out attachments from entities to thought forms. And this is why I wanted to deal with the soul progression clearing in a webinar, because to talk about entities and thought forms in a Facebook Live video or even on my radio show, I will get into, but it can scare people. So I wanted to deal with those issues one-to-one here on this webinar. So I have a few slides here that are a little bit wordy, but just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. So soul progression clearing is a modality I created partly from the need that I had and the needs that my clients had, and from my specialized training. So that one of those things is intuitive insight into an issue. Certainly my own intuitive insight that I've developed over time, but also really focused training to heighten my intuition, which is one of the things that I'll be dealing with in upcoming series of workshops. Been told by a few different psychics that I have an entity attached to me from the astral plane that brings me bad luck. Okay. If I don't get to that specific question, I'll get to it in general, because I'm really glad you raised that. And I'll talk about what I know about that and what I think about it. Also the shamanic modalities that I've learned, and I'll talk about those in a bit. And really everything I put together because people would come to me and I'd look at that, and I'd look at their problems with previous healers or intuitives that they've gone to. And there were issues that I wanted better understanding of how to resolve. And so I undertook various shamanic trainings. I became a certified soul regression hypnotherapist, a past life regression specialist, which was a whole modality created by Brian Weiss, who is and was a practicing psychiatrist at the time. And also my training in spiritual awakening and spiritual counseling and Reiki level 3 energy healing. And then my Crystal Fallon popped in, and we now work with a form of energy I'll call alchemical energy. But it's also a process I created for my own unique experience. I receive assistance from my spirit guides and also my client spirit guides, which most of us who work as healers do. Thank you, Julia. Yes, I'm Robin Fritz. Thank you for joining us today. No problem. So also I work with various divinities, literally beings who identified themselves as gods and goddesses. And I have always approached all of my work from a very rational, skeptical point of view. So I'm one of those people that made the divinities prove themselves, like prove who you are, because sometimes things can be tricky. So yes, I believe in them. They've been with me and working with me since Fallon and I established our practice. So that's one thing. And my own difficult life experiences led me to create process that helped other people, that also helped me. And that comes from my being somewhat of a maverick or a pioneer in some of the modalities, but also growing and building on the things that I've learned, which I hope is something that we all do in our work. But the most unique thing is working with my partner, Fallon. I know I'm keeping my webcam really small down here, but here he is, and you'll be seeing him in other pictures coming up. But Fallon is a citrine Lemurian quartz, so it's a very rare form of crystal, but he's also a very rare being in himself. And I know, being the rational skeptic that I am, B, welcome joining us. Thank you for joining us. I was very startled that my partner would be a crystal, and particularly in the form of a crystal ball. But he's also a rare ancient power crystal. And I have become aware over the years of working with him since 2009 that there are ancient couples, human and crystal partnerships that work together that are coming back into the world. But as far as I know, we're the only one out there publicly doing our work, except for the few people who are working with crystal skulls. So that is kind of an overview of soul progression clearing, but we'll get into it here with a process. So yes, Gemma, that means you're a very powerful empath, a person whose intuition runs towards feeling. And if you can unmute your microphones, please, I'd appreciate it. But all right, I'm gonna mute a few people here. So anyway, yes, that is your energy feeling, and people have literally called me up and told me that Fallon visited them in their dreams. So it's pretty awesome. I did mute you. Thank you. So the process of a soul progression clearing, and everyone, please feel free to type in a question if you have one as we're going along here. So the process involves intuitive and shamanic insight. So my intuitive insight, but then in the shamanic perspective, you can journey and work with various divinities. And then shamanic techniques, which are somewhat similar to a past life regression, and I'll tell the difference. The assistance of spirit guides and divinities, Reiki energy healing, and Fallon. So that's just kind of a summary of the process and what I've been talking about here. So let's look at why you would need a soul progression clearing. And I also want to take a moment while I think about it to thank the people at Unsplash, these amazing photographers who share their photography free in exchange for a credit. And they're just beautiful photographs. But here's a volcanic explosion to show you that, yeah, sometimes we have issues. So what does that involve? So, you know, your life is jam-packed. We're all really busy. So why would we add one more thing, do one more session with a healer, or, you know, go off and get a blood test or whatever it is, go to a chiropractor, get a massage? Why do we take time out for those kinds of things? Because we're busy making a living, right? We're busy running the household and trying to carve out some time to play. So why you would need a soul progression clearing, you think of it as you're in a car, you're driving down the road, you know, speeding down the road of life, and everything is great. And then, oh, you hit a speed bump or a flat tire, or you take a wrong turn and you get lost, or any one of a number of things happens. The road was clear and now the traffic has slowed down and you can't get through. You may even, on the road of life, hit a place where you just wonder if you're so off course, you don't know if there's a way back to the happy, fulfilled, unblocked person that you were before you noticed something was off. Not a way back or a way forward. And the problem right there is that we're stumped and we forget one thing. We forget to look in the rear view mirror, right? And look back at somebody waving at us, trying to wave us down on the road and stop us from being confused. And that person waving at you is really your soul. And your soul saying, hey, wait a minute, take a look and see if I can help you get back on course, you know. So that is why, yes, Julia, it's true. Healing is a never-ending process. There's always more to do. I always have more to do myself. And that's why we're here. We chose this soul experience, all of us as humans, to grow our souls in this lifetime. And there are no promises that it's going to be an absolutely smooth journey all the way through. All those people that look like golden people that have all the money and the power and everything in the world that we think we want, and yet sometimes they're empty too. So it's a constant process of growth and renewal, and we keep moving forward on that process. So why would you want to choose a soul progression clearing or a past life regression? Well, when we want to listen to our souls, when we take the time to listen to our souls, listening to them and listening to what our soul really has to say, and you can do a lot of this on your own, and sometimes it helps to come to someone like me who is a neutral outsider with the training to help you, but is that neutral, objective outsider. Your soul can help you make the choice between a poor choice and a neutral choice, or a great, well-informed one. So sure, we're focused on the present here and now, but the more information we have on the issue and the more insight that we have, the deeper we can see into what our issue is and how we can deal with the roadblocks that present themselves to us. Now, what I tell people is, in a soul progression clearing or even in a past life regression, it isn't just looking at the problems. Now, when Brian Weiss invented past life regression, he was dealing with clients that he could not help through talk therapy or drug therapy. And then boom, all of a sudden, he started talking to spirit guides. And, you know, like me, when I started doing that, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm like crazy. What is this? No, it's just our souls opening up to that experience. Yes, and that's it. Peeling back the layers, Leonie, in a clearing, which is why sometimes you need more than one, or sometimes you need a series. But, you know, to take breaks between those clearings, do them yourself, and, you know, see how it goes over time. But in a past life regression, just like in a soul clearing, you can look at issues and blocks, but you can also look at things, skill sets that you tapped and knew and understood in previous lifetimes, and bring them forward into this one, which is certainly what I did. Because when Fallon and I started working together, the goddess that joined us in our very first session said this is what we had done eons ago, and it was time for people to start doing it again. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So here we are. How would you choose a soul progression clearing or a past life regression? So in a soul progression clearing, it's usually one session. So I can usually, you know, I take extra time and I call them an hour session, but they tend to be more like an hour and a half, because I spend a little bit of time getting to know the person, and I want to know what their issue is and kind of the things that we're looking at, so that I can be of the greatest help to them. But a soul progression clearing is generally one session. A lot of times people are fine with that, and sometimes they come back again, and that's fine. I do sell packages, but I'm pretty loose about that. So if you buy one session and you come back later and say, I would really like to add to that, you know, I'll apply a group rate, or the group package rate to that. But it's usually one session, and it involves my own intuitive insight mostly. So it's for you, the client, it's a little bit more passive. You it's kind of like a spa day for your soul. You can sit back and relax, and I do all the work. I look at what's going on intuitively, what your team is telling me, what my team is telling me, what Fallon tells me. And I employ various shamanic modalities, which I'll talk about in a minute. And so it's very practitioner intensive. And I also include energy healing in it at the end to kind of fill you back up. And I'll explain that too as we move forward. Brian's story on Oprah's Super Soul. Brian Weiss. Yes, he's so amazing. You know, you should, yes, it's affordable. Let's mute whoever that was. But Brian Weiss is amazing. When I was having spontaneous past life regressions and I had no idea what was going on, I'd wake up in the morning, I'd be walking around and I'd see myself in a 19th century dress. And come on, I wear dresses in the summertime when it's 95 degrees and that's it, right? And I'm 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm walking around in a 19th century dress in a bright sunny day. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoop, I'm in my pajamas and it's raining. So I was like, what is going on? And somebody handed me his book, Many Lives, Many Masters. So he is the guru of past life regression. There are other people out there doing it, including me, and various experiences that we have that cause us to alter the format somewhat. But in a past life regression, usually one session, although it can be more because, you know, Brian did this multiple times for his clients. So, but usually one session and they're very long. They're like 2.5 hours. And in those, if you went to my website, robynfritz.com, ROBYNFRITZ.com, you would see, you know, the package rates for that. But I also include a specific, at the end of the session, I record a specific meditation for that client based on the information that we received during the past life regression, and a number of other things, follow-ups as well. But it's a base, past life regression can be done intuitively and it can be done shamanically, and that makes it a little bit more practitioner oriented. But a real past life regression as a certified hypnotherapist, which I do, includes hypnotherapy. Now people say, okay, does that make you quack like a duck? Well, I discovered when I took the training that Fallon and I were already doing that kind of thing. So if you're ever daydreaming, you're basically doing hypnotherapy on yourself. So no, you're fully awake and aware the entire time that you're having this past life regression. But it is so beautiful and so amazing. I adore it because as an intuitive, as a healer, I am not, none of the intuitives, yes, quack like a duck, that, you know, you see those weird TV shows. So no healer or intuitive, I don't care who they are, including me, none of us knows your soul as well as you do. So a past life regression with hypnotherapy is client intensive, okay? You are doing a lot of work in those 2 hours together. The 2 hour session, it goes a little bit longer than that. You're doing a lot of work. And what I do from my end is we spend time up front shaping the question, shaping the issue so that I can really help you focus on the correct lifetime that you want to look at. So we don't wade through a lot of lifetimes that we don't need to be looking at. That lifetime that you want to be looking at. And I'm also protecting you during that session. So anything that's showing up that doesn't need to be there, including spirit guides who aren't necessary for that, are basically sent off to do something else. So I'm holding space for you and I'm guiding you with questions. And I'm also at times adding my own insight. So it's very client intensive. So that's the difference between a soul progression clearing and a past life regression. Now, this slide, pretty picture to look at, but this is the reason, this particular slide, and what I'm going to talk about next is why I wanted to do this on a webinar. Because there's a lot of misconception out there about various shamanic modalities, and in my work, I run into all kinds of things, and that's why I went for extensive training. So here's the thing. Some years ago, I hit a roadblock in helping people. I was frustrated. I needed to add to what I call my healing toolkit for clients. And in all our sessions, you develop a healing toolkit for yourself. But that's how I explored and added various shamanic techniques to my practice. They are very useful, they're extremely valuable, and they're creepy sounding, okay? And they have been misused by people. So in some circles, they've acquired a suspect reputation. So you've all probably heard the story of the person who said, oh, I see that you're cursed and hand me $10,000 and I'll remove the curse. Oh, but now I need $10,000 more. You know, I've heard those stories, and that has made techniques like curse unraveling suspect when, if you find a practitioner and if for some reason you don't feel called to work with me, I'd be happy to refer you to people I trust who also use shamanic modalities. But curse unraveling is really something completely different. In the shamanic perspective, someone, maybe even you, cursed you or your family line in this life or in a previous life. And somehow that curse has repercussions now. Now, some people would call that a form of karma. And I could go on and on about why I don't believe in karma. But in my perspective, what happens when I work with clients is that something happened earlier in this life or in a previous lifetime, because something always happens. And I may be able to look at it and say, wow, you were a Viking left behind in medieval times because you were considered too weak. And that embarrassment and that damage to your soul because you weren't the strong Viking has carried forward, and now you're overcompensating. So let's just change the mindset. Let's go back and help you heal yourself. Let's go back and heal that past life, right? Yes, exactly. Julia, thanks for that comment. So your subconscious mind always knows the truth. So your subconscious mind in hypnotherapy would let your subconscious mind, basically your soul, is a fancy term for your soul. If you're ready to hear it, your subconscious mind will tell you what's going on in a past life regression. In a soul progression clearing, I dig deeper into it intuitively. And I don't really care, and my client doesn't really care exactly what it was. You know, we just see the threads. I see the energy threads. My clients often are very aware that there's something blocking them. And so they want it removed. And that's all we need to do, is remove the threads. We don't need to make judgments on what happened in the previous lifetime. It just get those threads, pull them out, and eliminate them. So compassionate depossession. Compassionate depossession is a term created by absolutely amazing, beautiful woman named Betsy Bergstrom, who's a Buddhist shamanic practitioner in Seattle. And of all the shamanic people I would go to for training, well, she's the only one, because my experience is not necessarily shamanically oriented, and she didn't care. She knew I was interested in the training, and the whole being a shaman was not what I was being called to do. But she and I were noticing the same thing. Shamanic or the compassionate depossession is a way of removing attachments or entities from people or in spaces. So here's what was happening. I do space clearings. In Seattle, if you wanted to, you'd call me a Ghostbuster, but I try to get away from words like that. But I get called in for very scary situations. And I was noticing things in spaces that I was like, what is that thing? And I didn't know people to go to ask what that thing was, because I'm the analytical person, right? So I want to know what everything is, which I discovered isn't necessary. So I went to the non-humans that I work with, because Fallon and I work between dimensions and with multi-dimensional beings from other places. And I asked them for help on clearing out something from a stuck space. And I was particularly concerned because there were small children who were extremely intuitive. They were working on the adult level, and I needed to shut that down before they got hurt. And these beings came in and helped clear up the space. Well, Fallon and I were there too. Fallon saw this attachment, if you will, and we didn't know what to do. So I said, Fallon, what do you think? And he burned it up. And I felt bad about that. And it's not like we necessarily killed the thing that was there, but we did burn it up. So we didn't give it a choice, right? And I decided I wanted a different way of doing it, because it was, to me, it felt violent. Okay. So the thing of it is, people call things ghosts or demons or bad guys or whatever it is. And the truth of the matter is, one of the things Fallon and I do is we work with stuck dead people. And this is a whole nother webinar, but dead people who have not gone to the afterlife, but are hanging around for one reason or another. And basically the reason is they didn't love themselves enough. And there's been yes, if you want to call that Leone psychopomp, but I don't like to use that term either. But yes, I work with the dead. And it was my dad who, well, just because I like to use my own terms that fit better with how I look at things. And I look at things a little bit differently than the shamanic people, as well as the energy healers. So that's why. May not be a good answer, but that's my answer. Also, I have trouble pronouncing some words. So that's just me. So here's the thing. When Fallon and I started realizing that there were just enormous numbers of stuck dead, and that they went back eons, the goddess that we work with said, you and Fallon did this eons ago, and nobody's been doing it. And I'm like, oh. So I go to Betsy's class, and she says the same thing. Nobody's been doing this for eons. And I'm like, okay, somebody else is noticing what I'm noticing. A bunch of stuck dead people that are creating an energy block on the planet. Not on purpose, because that's just what happens. So the Catholic Church has called for an increased number of exorcists, because the Catholic Church has also noticed all of these entities and things roaming around the planet. But exorcism is a violent process, and it's judgmental, and it says this entity is bad and it has to come out of you. And it causes a lot of damage to that entity, and it causes damage, I believe, to the person who has the attachment. And none of that is necessary. Instead, with compassionate depossession, what you look at as the attachment, either an entity or a thought form, and I'll talk about that in a bit, those are things that happen, and the being or the attachment may not necessarily be aware of it, or it may be frightened, or for some reason it's stuck. So the compassionate, the honorable, the spiritual, the soul healing thing to do is to call in the guides, the spiritual team for that attachment, and my guides, and my clients' guides, and remove the threads of that entity, hand it to the divinities and the spiritual guides, and send it back to wherever it needed to be, to the afterlife if necessary, or at least to a different place where it can receive healing and then move on to continue its own soul growth. So if you have any questions about that, pull them up. But that's the whole idea of compassionate depossession. If I don't have to hurt something, if I don't have to burn it up, then great. Sometimes we do. Sometimes it's just necessary. But the process that Fallon and I use for that now is just a quicker send into its next lifetime or its next soul experience, and not damaging it so that it cannot grow again, or it takes extra time to grow. I don't want to be in the position of hurting something so badly that it can't continue to grow its own soul. So that's compassionate depossession. And then the other techniques are spiritual and soul journeys, where we dig in and bring in your spiritual team, and you literally go on a journey to explore your soul or find out some information from your team. And then there's the soul retrieval part. So anytime we've had a traumatic experience, it's like our soul has a touch of PTSD. So a bit of it may spin away. And the soul retrieval is just simply bringing that element back into you and then creating healing around that. So there are no more questions on that. I will go to why you would choose a soul progression cleric. So a number of reasons. I certainly interview people. So the choice would be people coming to me and saying, I have a block and I'd like to look at this. What method do you choose? Clients, for example, medical doctors who haven't been able to pass their boards come for soul progression cleaning because there are things that are holding them back, including our self-doubt, and we try to get rid of that. So if you're feeling stuck or your life is in a mess or you're an empath who's drained by people and events, we need to teach you how to create boundaries, but also to clear out the things that got stuck in you before you created good boundaries. Or you just can't stand up for yourself, or you feel something that is in you that shouldn't be. And a lot of people who come for these do feel something stuck in them, do feel something. And again, we can look into it to see what it is, or we can just clear it out and make sure it's gone and doesn't come back again. And I say people who want energy healing that offers real results now. And that's because the energy healing that we do, that Fallon and I do, is working with alchemical energy, which is sentient. It's very aware, it can communicate, it chooses what it wants to do, and it really works fast, which I don't mean to throw in an inappropriate joke here, but I like everything to go really fast and quick and easy so that we can all have more time to play, right? So that's the goal, energy healing that works really fast. So yes, you may find that you have attachments or things that are stuck to you, but also you would come for a clearing because you want to boost your creativity, your well-being, and your happiness. Like for me, for example, I've been stuck on a book project I promised my agent I would finish like a year ago. I was like, what is my problem? Well, I got upset about it. I got upset about the project and what was going on, and I allowed myself to block myself. And so Fallon and I did a whole soul progression clearing on me, and the advantage of having an ancient power crystal as a business partner. And now I'm hard at work at my book, and I promised to finish it by the end of August, which I will, and you can all hold me to it. So, Gemma, I find it very hard to protect my energy lately, which forces me into isolation. Gemma, you are inspiring me to offer my energy boundaries class sooner rather than later, because the biggest issue most of us have right now in the world is our energy boundaries. And there are a lot of reasons for it. We are literally under attack, and there's just so much going on in the world, and we need to shore up our energy boundaries and understand how they work, and most of us don't. So that webinar will be coming up soon, but I also work with people on an individual level, because there's a technique Fallon and I developed for teaching individuals how to work with their energy boundaries. So Gemma, we can talk about a private appointment for that. But again, a soul progression clearing helps you also get a better understanding of who you are in the world. Because again, my focus as an intuitive and spiritual consultant is to help people grow in love for themselves in the world, because the world needs every single one of us to step up to the plate and do our jobs. Do what we promised we would come and do when we came into this lifetime. Remember what it was that we promised to do. To share with you, I just adopted a kitten on May 1st. who was previously with me last year and told me she wasn't coming back. And the fact that she's back here now means both of us have to step into the work that we promised to do in this lifetime. It's very big and scary. So all of the support I have from all of you is helping me. But everything that we do, I don't care whatever work it is that you do, even dusting the house and vacuuming, grocery clerks, oh my God, that's the hardest job in the world. I could never do that. Keeping all those codes straight. Everything you do in the world is important. So don't worry about your day job. Embrace it and love it for its power and ability to grow your soul and for you to give back love into the world. I totally swear that's true. So, and to claim your power, because we aren't claiming our power. And that's why I have to work with all these stuck dead people. So don't get stuck and die that way. Get unstuck. Let's work on that. Let's get unstuck, because you have amazing contributions to give to the world, every single one of you. And things get messed up in us and stuck and need to get removed. So let me tell you how a soul progression clearing works. And you can just look at a really cool picture while I tell you how it works. So here's the thing. You come in and sit down, and we've agreed that you need a soul progression clearing, or you want a soul progression clearing. So what we will do is open sacred space around us. Bring in my spiritual team, bring in your spiritual team, and really sit down and work out what the issue is. So say your name is Emma, and Emma's come to me because she feels that there's a problem residing there in her body. She may even have, and this is partly a true story, which my client has allowed me to share, but her name wasn't Emma. She felt like she'd had a lifetime of abuse in her family. She had seen abuse going back in her family, and her parents, a couple of generations back. And she decided the abuse was going to end, and so was the family line. And she was the last member of that family line. And she felt something really interfering with her and messing her up. And when I got in there and started looking at it with her, I saw the energy threads going back 1,000 years. And here's a man standing at the end of it, and we're looking at each other, and I'm like, And he was the founder of the line, okay, 1,000 years ago. And he had wanted so hard, so much for his line to continue so that it wouldn't die out, so it would be alive in the world, and he could continue to be in the world through his line, that he put this thing on his descendants that they would continue to reproduce. But clearly my client felt that it was time for it to end. So I said to him, wow, you've had 1,000 years. You've had a good run, but now it's over. Your last descendant says it's over. So take your threads and go. And I removed the threads, and she got cleared out, and that's that. So sometimes you do see where they go. And sometimes the fears and phobias and things, okay, so you could call maybe this a curse that was placed on her, but it wasn't a curse. It was this guy wanted his family to live, that's all. It just became a lot more powerful maybe than he intended. And I, try not to make judgments on people that I'm unraveling or pulling the threads away from. I'm just like, okay, take your thing and go, mister. So here's the other thing. And another reason why I wanted to talk about this in a webinar. So, is that the things that can stick us, get us stuck, aren't just entities or feelings that we have, our feelings, our lack of self-worth, or our feeling like we're not getting anywhere in life. They can also be thought forms. And a thought form is anything that enough people have given their attention to, it becomes an actual thing. So it becomes a living thing. So anything that we give our attention to becomes a living thing, and that has an influence on us. So what do I mean? Christianity is a living thing. Democracy, right? Reiki is a living thing. So you think Reiki energy healing, it's there. You know, it's there as a real thing. The thought form is real and it's alive. And everything in the universe is alive. Everything on the planet is alive, whether you think of it or not. And a thought form is alive. Enough people say a prayer that becomes a thought form, Julia. Yes. And they can be really good for us. And rituals, you know, all of those things can be really good and healthy for us. But, and there's Buddhism is a thought form. Vegetarianism is the thought form. So is Nazism. So thought forms aren't necessarily good or bad in themselves. It's the energy that went into creating them. So they can affect us in a good way or in a bad way. And a thought form is how religions and cultures are created. And I don't want to place a judgment on it, only to say that be aware of what you believe in as a thought form. Like a lot of people believe in karma, so they walk around thinking that they've done something wrong and, you know, they're going to have to pay for it. And that's really not true, but it will be true if you hold that thought, because it will affect how you feel and react in the world. I'm hope if this is not making sense, please put in a comment in there. So what I do, whether it's an entity or a thought form or whatever it is just pull out the threads, and then we fill up that space with energy healing. So it takes time to pull out those threads. We call in the divinities, and if it's an entity, if it's an attachment, oh, thank you, Gemma. It's an entity, attachment, whatever it is, we try to pull out those threads and we just send it for cleansing. Okay, now a fire, the divine fire that Fallon will shoot at something will cleanse it, but I prefer for its spiritual team to deal with that. A thought form is something else. A thought form, you can choose to believe in Reiki, or you can choose to believe in Christianity or democracy or any of those things. That's your choice. But when you believe in them, think about what your belief leads you to. Does it lead you to disempowering yourself, or does the thought of being a Christian really make you feel awesome and wonderful? I was born and raised Catholic. I left the church on my own accord, and that's me. But a lot of people have made it to the afterlife being Catholic, so I can't criticize anybody else's belief in things. I'm only saying evaluate yours and realize that what you're looking at, what the world believes, democracy. Right now, look at the world struggling over the word democracy and what it means to them, and think about it as a thought form. Pretty fascinating. So let's move on. Why a clearing matters to you. And this is just a summary with a really cool picture of what do you call those things? Fireworks. Okay, good, Robin. Grow in love for yourself and the world, right? Claim your power and remove any block that is keeping you from being your best self. That's really what a soul progression clearing is all about. So I want to take you into a brief meditation here. Not to do a soul clearing because they're so individualized. That's why I did this in the free webinar. But I want to run you through an exercise that I created, and then just a brief relaxing meditation so that there's a place that you can go to recharge your batteries. Okay. So the first thing I'd like you to do is to try this technique with me, just sitting there in your chair. And I call it modified biofeedback. And so what that means is when I tell you to focus on a body part, I want you to squeeze it and release. So like, just like I'm holding up my hands, I tell you, hands, squeeze, release. So we're starting at the top of the head and running down your body. And I find this really useful to do when I'm giving a talk or when I'm teaching a workshop. Is we're so busy in our heads all day long, we don't really know what our body's feeling. And you'll find tensions in just muscle blockages in your body from this exercise. But you may also decide as you go through it that there may be something else there too that you want to get rid of. So take a deep breath, take your attention to the top of your head. I'm going to tell you to squeeze the top of your head and release. Side of your head, squeeze and release. Your ears, squeeze and release. Your cheeks, squeeze and release. Your jaw, squeeze and release. Your neck, squeeze, release. Your shoulders, squeeze, release. Your chest, squeeze, release. Your solar plexus, squeeze, release. Your hips, squeeze, release. Your knees, squeeze, release. Your calves, squeeze, release. Your ankles, squeeze, release. Your feet, squeeze, release. And now just shake your body out. So if you feel like commenting, you notice where you just kind of made your body just feel really good because you kind of, used your muscles to clear it out a little bit. And I invite you to try that during the day. If you're going into a meeting or something, just run through your body like that, because biofeedback is a literally real scientific tool that teaches people how to reconnect with their body, and used a lot for pain. I actually learned how to use it many years ago when I was suffering from migraine headaches. All right, so here I'm just going to take you through a quick little meditation, and where we're going is to get you to breathe and relax, and then I'm going to take you into your safe space, wherever that is, and give you a chance to look at it, to relax in it, and just to experience how great it is to take a quick break during the day for yourself. So here's your spa day in a few minutes. So sit back, relax in the moment. As you settle in, just let your eyes close. Take a deep breath in straight to your gut. Feel it expand with healthy, positive energy. As you exhale, release what doesn't serve you. Breathe in and exhale. As you breathe in, just relax with each breath, sinking deeper into yourself. As your gut rises and falls with your breath, allow the feeling to relax you. Breathe in and exhale. Relax. Relax your face, your chest, your hips, your back, your knees, your feet. Relax, let go, and breathe. Just be curious about the safe space you're going to visit. Now imagine Fallon, my crystal, as a gold light at your feet. Sitting there at your feet, it's a brilliant, warm gold light. He's radiating love, warmth, comfort, and security. And as you continue to breathe deeply, just watch as that gold light starts to spin. It's spinning, it's gathering energy, healing energy, radiating out towards you. And feel as Fallon moves up from your feet, up your body, he's spinning and clearing your chakras, clearing out your energy, clearing and balancing. Your sacral chakra, welcoming abundance and new experience. Your solar plexus, self-confidence and self-esteem. Your heart chakra, welcoming love. Your throat chakra, allowing you to communicate with your body and your soul. Your third eye, opening intuition. And your crown chakra, allowing connection to all life, to spirituality, to belief. And your intuition is now wide open and ready to receive. So as we're ready to start your journey to your sacred space, know that you are safe, clear, grounded, and open to communicate. And I want you to now to imagine yourself walking forward to your safe space. It's a space where you feel sheltered, content, full of wonder, at peace, and protected. It may be a place you have actually visited or one you're just imagining. Just walk into that safe space, knowing your spiritual team is keeping it clear for you and nothing can hurt you or bother you in that space. As you walk forward, just look around and appreciate it. Notice what you see. It may be an ocean, a river, woods, garden, a room, a city, an altar, whatever it is. Just notice your safe space and walk around and enjoy it. And as you explore it, let your imagination and curiosity soar. You may even want to just sit down, get comfy, relax and breathe deeply, and just feel the energy of this safe space just supporting you and nourishing you. You're safe and secure. Know that anytime you feel stressed or that you need to be refreshed or you just need a time out, you can relax and go into the sacred safe space where nothing can bother you. And now as you relax, allow your subconscious mind, your soul, and your intuition to explore your body. Do you feel safe and secure? Do you feel like something is stuck or off? Is there something somewhere in your mind, body, or spirit where you feel a blockage or something just holding you back? If not, that's great, just relax. But if you can feel something, can you identify where it is? And you might take your attention to that space. You're in your safe place. You might take attention to wherever you feel a little block and simply ask your spiritual team to remove it, to put it safely away in another place where you can examine it later. And now invite your healing team to let healing energy flow in and fill you up. Whether you felt a block or not, you can experience Fallon's gold healing light filling you up. With each beat of your heart, that gold light is flooding your body with warmth and safety and protection and love. Relaxing, clearing, and refreshing. And so now we've come to the end of our brief journey today. And thank yourself for relaxing into this brief meditation. And know that in the coming days and weeks, you can reflect back on our session today and on this brief meditation and jot down what you remember, what you notice, and think about how your life might change from what you learned today and what it will look like. And imagine yourself in this new world without blocks. You may write it down, record it, draw a painting, whatever it takes to remember that what you learned from this moment. And now I'm inviting you to gently come back to yourself, shake yourself up a little bit, come out of the meditation, open your eyes, and rejoin us here briefly. How does everybody feel? I'm hoping you're feeling a little relaxed with that brief, quick, fast meditation. So, sorry. So here's my disclaimer. Good, I'm glad you feel good. I'm glad good, tingling, a weird sensation. Yes, okay. Fallon can strike people that way. I noticed a block in your root chakra. Awesome. Well, you know, that's where everything is. That's our survival mode, right? Yeah. And Fallon can be very strong, So you're welcome to tell him to tone it down if you'd like. But anyway, here's my disclaimer. I work with people when we all block ourselves. I don't diagnose, treat mental or physical issues or health issues or prescribe treatments. And for that, please talk to your medical provider. And I work with emotionally and mentally healthy individuals who want to empower themselves and grow their souls by removing spiritual obstacles that keep them from being their best selves. So I just felt compelled to read that to you. That's who I work with. And here are bonuses for joining me today. I'm offering 15% off any sessions booked from this webinar. So email me at robinfritz.com. There's my name down there, ROBYNFRITZ.com. Tell me you were at the webinar and I'll offer you 15% off a session. Sessions are $165 for an hour and a half, includes a recording and a follow-up during the week for a brief chat. And there's also a 3.5% PayPal charge. I'm also offering 25% off sessions booked after you consult with one of my radio show sponsors. Aubrey Wallace is a naturopath and a medical intuitive, and she's offering 15% off a medical intuition session. And she's told me she's run into a lot of people needing this kind of clearing or past life regression. So I'll offer 25% off those clearings if you'd like. And Rosie Gremmert works with people with essential oils. She's offering 25% off her oil purchases. You can also sign up for my newsletter at robinfritz.com. I have a couple of ebooks there. But I'm so thrilled that you joined me today. Thank you so much. And here are all the links to my website and my blog, robinfritz.com. But I'm thrilled to be associated with Om Times. I have a radio show every Monday. Yes, I do offer a payment plan. And thank you for attending. Thank you, Adam and B. Om Times Radio, Mondays at 2 Pacific, 5 Eastern, the practical intuitive mind, body, spirit for the real world. And as an Om Times expert, you can find me every Tuesday morning at Facebook Live at Om Times Magazine. I offer free readings there, but I'm going to have to limit that to 2 because everybody wanted readings yesterday and we ran out of time. Julia, yes, I am recording this and I can't imagine why you could not go back in and listen. I will find out. I don't know, honestly. I will find out. So here are various places you can find me, LinkedIn, Google+. But you can help me out by going to the Om Times Magazine page, liking it if you haven't already, and my Facebook page, The Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, or that's my radio show, The Practical Intuitive Robin M. Fritz. If you'd like my Facebook business page, I'd love it. You're also welcome to send Facebook friend requests to my regular page, Robin M. Fritz. But you can find me at all of these places. And again, thank you for joining me today. I will find out if you can rewatch this webinar. I honestly don't know. Any other questions today from anyone? And I'm so grateful that you joined me today. I know how busy you all are. Much love to all of you. Thank you for that. I just appreciate that so much. Much love and peace and well-being to all of you. We're all in it together, right? We're all here holding a hand out to each other with love and with friendship and warmth. And let's go out and make the world beautiful, even more beautiful than it is. This is a conscious, evolving planet, and we're all here together. So thank you for joining us. I'm going to stop the recording now. And again, 15% off sessions booked from this webinar. And connect with me with questions at robinfritz.com or on Facebook. And thank you so much for joining me today. From me and from Fallon, Take care and goodbye.